What is up, everyone? Welcome to the best game week 33 free hit and bench boost guide. We're going to be looking at all the teams that double. We're going to be looking at the players to get for those doubles, whether you're looking at single game week players, whether you're looking at double game week players. If you're on a free hit as well, you can look at what players to target. If you're on a bench boost, looking at what players to bring in, maybe this will also help you. So let's get into it. It's the best game week 33 free hit guide, and let's get started. If you're new, by the way, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like button, and comment down below whether you're playing the free hit or bench boost. If not, what's your plans? Let me know down in the comments. Let's go. Alright, now this one, let's get started straight away. All the data you see right here is from the Fantasy Football Club members area. Huge shout out to the Fantasy Football Club members area. All the data is from that side. Now, starting off, all our data is based off the last 6 game weeks, the one that you will see in this video. Every single data from the members area is based off the last 6 game weeks. And starting off from the bat, we've got minutes per xg and minutes per xg conceded. I feel like that's a pretty good representation of how the teams have been doing. In terms of, let's start with the highlighted numbers. Now, I've sorted this first of all based on my kind of like ticker. I've slightly tweaked it based on what the season ticker is from the Fantasy Football Club members area. I've taken my own like interpretation based on the data, and I'm going to explain it to you in the best way possible. Now, first of all, the numbers in green. What do the numbers in green mean? Okay, the numbers in green are basically the top 6 teams in the last 6 game weeks, whether it's minutes per xg or minutes per xg conceded. So if you were to look at, let's say, Arsenal right on top, they are in the top 6 for minutes per expected goals in the last 6 game weeks, and also minutes per expected goals conceded. They're the top 6. That means the top 6 in the best defensive teams in the last 6 game weeks. If you're in red, that means you're the bottom 6 worst teams for that specific stat. So if you were to take an example of Norwich, right at the bottom right there, they got the worst defense in terms of 38 minutes per xg conceded, and also one of the worst attacks in terms of taking about 86.2 minutes per xg. So that's how the numbers are in terms of the green and the red, and the black is basically you're in the middle of that. So you're basically the remaining 8 teams in the middle. So that's the color for the numbers. In terms of the fixture ticker, okay, how does this happen? Now, let's start with the most easiest thing to explain, the red. If so, you have a red based on, let's say you're facing your opponent has a green fixture, green number. So let's take, for example, Watford right at the bottom. They face Brentford. If you look at Brentford's minutes per xg is 57.7 and highlighted by green. So it's Brentford are in the top 6 for attack in the last 6 game weeks. So that's why Watford have a red fixture, Brentford have a green fixture, because Brentford face Watford also. Now, first of all, the red, I've explained the red. Let me first explain the red fully. So whether you face a team either that has a green, if you have a red and you face a team with a green number, then you get a red fixture ticker. If you face, again, the same thing with, like, say, Brighton, on the other hand, have black numbers, but they're facing a team with 2 green numbers. So if you take a Tottenham and City, both are in the top 6 for both expected goals and expected goals conceded. That means Brighton have a hard fixture for both games. Let's take the dark green. Now, dark green means you have a pretty easy fixture. If you take, for example, Arsenal have 2 green numbers. That means they're in the top 6 for both sides. They face a Southampton team which has a black number in terms of expected goals, which means they're in mid-table, but in terms of defense, they're in the bottom 6. So for Arsenal, it's an easy fixture. For Southampton, it's a very hard fixture because they're facing a team in the top 6 in terms of data. In terms of the light green colors, that's basically the next is tier of easiest fixtures. Now, City, they are the best in terms of attack and defense, but they're facing a Brighton team that is mid-table. It's not the worst, but at the same time it's not the best, which is why it's a light green, because City are one of the best, but they're facing a mid-table side. Um, the the orange is basically similar to the light green, but the flipped. So basically, you're not the worst, but you're facing a tough fixture. So let's take, for example, Leicester. Leicester are facing Newcastle. Now, Leicester have two red numbers. They're basically the bottom six for expected goals and expected goals conceded over the last six game weeks. And they're playing a Newcastle team, which are mid table. So it's not the hardest fixture for Leicester, but at the same time, it's not the easiest fixture. Um, on the flip side, Leicester, for Newcastle's perspective, Newcastle are playing a team in the bottom, which is why Newcastle have a green fixture. And finally, the Greys. The Greys are uh, basically bad teams playing against bad teams. That's the Grey. That's what I highlighted for Grey. And then finally, the Blues are basically teams have the best fixtures. I mean, they have the best stats and they're going to cancel each other out. So if you take, for example, Arsenal and Chelsea, both are top six for expected goals and expected goals conceded. Someone's going to cancel each other out, which is why I highlighted it in blue. Same thing for Newcastle versus Crystal Palace. They're both mid-table fixtures, so I was like, okay, mid-table opposition. Interestingly, Newcastle versus Crystal Palace is the only fixture in Game Week 33 where both opponents are basically mid-table and aren't really on one side of the spectrum in terms of either best or worst in terms of minutes per expected goals or minutes per expected goals considered. Now, hopefully, that has kind of made sense. Now, having said all of that, I've basically taken all of that and I've sorted it by order in terms of what's the teams with the best fixtures and the teams with the worst at the bottom. And obviously, Aston Villa, Leeds, and Wolves blank, so they're at the bottom. Now, Arsenal, according to me at least, have the best because they have the best XG and XG conceded out of the teams that double. Followed by Newcastle, United, Leicester, Burnley, Southampton, and Brighton have the worst double game week out of the lot. And then obviously you have the single game week teams. Brentford have probably one of the easiest single game weeks where they face a Watford team that are pretty bad. Followed by West Ham, City, Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Everton, and Norwich. Now, if you're on a bench boost, have a note of the single game weeks as well, because that could really help you in terms of targeting players for your bench as well. Free hit as well. Don't ignore the single game week players. Okay, free hit. Don't ignore the single game week players. We'll look into that as well later, but don't ignore the single game week players just because you're on a free hit. Don't necessarily have to play 11 double game week players. Okay, you can get a few single game week players. It might be the best move to go forward. Okay, let's get moving into the data. Now, let's look at Arsenal. First of all right, Arsenal have I've taken the top 5 for Arsenal in terms of who I think are the best. So it's basically I've sorted it by non-penalty expected goal involvement. I think it's a pretty good stat to pick, non-penalty, to kind of get a good idea of who we actually want. And right on top is Saka. Last 6 game weeks, Saka is the best at 2.8 non-penalty XGI, expected assist of 1.81, XG of 1.02, and a cost at 6.8 million. I think he is your best option for Arsenal going forward. Now, one thing to note is that Arsenal don't have a left back right now. Tierney is out, injured. Arteta didn't really favor Nuno Tavares. He didn't start. He started Xhaka at left back, which I thought was pretty strange because you're starting one of your best midfielders at left back and you're losing a midfield spot, especially after you've lost Thomas Partey. So there are talks within the Arsenal community where people are thinking maybe you should just play Saka at left back instead of playing Xhaka in that position and losing a midfield spot as well. Now, obviously, Saka is their best attacking option as well right now, but he can also play the left back spot. If you watch the last week's podcast, Roy, also who's an Arsenal fan, mentioned that maybe they should probably look into playing Saka at left back. And we'll probably discuss that on the podcast this week as well. But yeah, Saka, 2.8, best option, followed by Martinelli, Smith Rowe, Lacazette. For 8.4 million, I don't think Lacazette is worth it, but it is what it is if you want to go there. And then Odegaard is your outside pick. Now, let's move on. Arsenal. Next team, Newcastle United. Fraser, obviously, injury issues. Wood is your next best option. Otherwise, you can go for Bruno Jimenez. Wood, in terms of striking options, not many strikers are available. If you wanted to pick one, maybe he could be a good double game week option. But a lot of people are looking at Newcastle's defensive assets because Newcastle, like I said, good defensive stats. They've got they basically 80.2 minutes per XG conceded, which is actually a pretty good defensive stat because if you were to look at the top six, the lowest, I think, at sixth position in the last 6 game weeks is Aston Villa at 84.6 and Newcastle 80.2. So it's not too far off. So Newcastle's defensive players are actually pretty interesting to pick. And out of that, right, you can see the bottom three, Target, Shah, and Dan Burn, are all pretty good defensive players if you want to pick, who also have good non-penalty XGI. Shah, really good attacking options as well. You know, we kind of know he's on set pieces as well at times in terms of free kicks. He scored a goal from a free kick. Pretty good option for me. I think he is, for cost, in terms of cost perspective, one of the best options that you can find in defense. If you're trying to fill both a free hit team or even a bench boost team and you want a bench boost, Shah is a pretty good option. Dan Burn, also same price. Another good option you could have. In terms of attack, it's probably Chris Wood, maybe Bruno Jimenez, but I feel like you have better options in midfield that you probably don't want to go there. But my top three would probably be Chris Wood, Target, and then probably Shah. That will be my top three from Newcastle. Let's move on. Now, Manchester United. A lot of people were talking, man, we need to target Manchester United assets. People were looking at triple United picks as well. And that was one of the main reasons for playing the free hit, because you could target those Manchester United players. You don't want them in your team going forward, but you just want them for that specific game week. But now, based on the last few weeks' performances, it's gone from triple United to maybe do we get double United, or even is just Bruno Fernandes enough? In terms of numbers, Bruno and Cristiano are the top two from United. I wouldn't really look at getting anyone else. As a United fan, I wouldn't really look into getting anyone else apart from those two. Even Cristiano Ronaldo could be a bit of a doubt because we got the likes of Harry Kane, who's doing really well, by the way. Harry Kane's doing really well. It's just that you're playing the numbers game here in terms of Cristiano Ronaldo has 2 chances of, like, basically 2 games of playing compared to Harry Kane's 1 game, even though Harry Kane is probably the significantly better option right now for game week 33. You're just rolling the dice of Ronaldo having 2 chances to kind of score. Even though 1 game is against Liverpool, who are really good defensively as well, but do tend to offer chances going forward. Like, the opponent can get some chances. In defense, I probably wouldn't look at any United defenders, to be fair. I don't think they can keep a clean sheet against Norwich even, so I wouldn't really look at United defensive options. I'll probably just look at Bruno and Ronaldo, and that's basically it. Leicester. Now, Leicester are a team where the numbers have been pretty bad recently, but they're kind of showing improvement. Obviously, last 6 game weeks, pretty bad, but they're getting some of their players back, kind of showing improvement as well. You could say their attention has been mostly focused on the Conference League, which is why they're kind of in the Premier League, they're not doing too well. But game week 33, we'll know a bit more in terms of where they stand in the Conference League, whether they have been knocked out or whether they continue or not. But I don't think that should impact their game week 33, because in game week they don't have another Conference League match until they pass like game week 34. So 33 shouldn't be too much of an issue, unless obviously there are injuries in Europe and we can't predict that, which is unfortunate because we're recording this on Monday. But on the deadline day stream, when I do that, we'll probably have more information. Now, Harvey Barnes is the best option, but I also like James Maddison. I think James Maddison also is a pretty good option if you wanted to. Obviously, he started the game. Harvey Barnes didn't. Harvey Barnes came off the bench. Most likely going to start in Europe. Most likely both of them are going to start in Europe, and I would expect both of them to technically start in game week 33 as well. If you wanted, you could go with both, or you could go with one. It's up to you. Both are pretty good options. I tend to like Maddison a bit more because he's on set pieces, but Harvey Barnes is also not a bad option. And then if you wanted to go in striker, Iheanacho, pretty good choice for striking. The only problem is we don't know whether he's going to start or not. Obviously, Dhaka started. Does that mean Iheanacho is playing Conference League? And then would that mean that Iheanacho does play Game Week 33, or is Dhaka going to start again? That's a bit of uncertainty that you don't really want, but it's not a bad option. Obviously, Jamie Vardy is another thing we kind of have to keep an eye on. Probably have to watch out for press conference news to see whether Vardy will be back or not. James Justin is not a bad option going forward, even if you wanted a bench boost, or if you wanted a cheap play on a bench boost. Dewsbury Hall is posting the numbers, kind of sharing set pieces with Madison as well. Could be a good option. All right, one more player who is not in here is Schmeichel. I think Schmeichel is not a bad option given the fact that Leicester, where are they? I know their stats are pretty bad. Fixtures, looking at it now, kind of looks a bit more challenging, especially that Newcastle fixture. Everton fixture shouldn't be too bad. But if you wanted a goalkeeper, maybe Schmeichel could be a good option. If not, Dubravka in Newcastle as well. I didn't mention Dubravka here. He could also be a good defensive option for Newcastle. Now, let's move on. Burnley. You really want any Burnley players? People have got Weghorst. The only reason I added Weghorst is because I couldn't find a Maxwell Cornet picture that is rendered. But look at that. Weghorst is not even in the top 2 of Burnley. I don't really think you want Weghorst. And their fixtures are also... I mean, they're playing West Ham and Southampton. West Ham United and Southampton. Maybe Southampton might be an easy fixture. West Ham, on the other hand, might be a pretty tough fixture. I guess it's Cornet, but really, to be fair, I don't think you should probably even look at any Burnley players, to be fair. Have Weghorst already, you might as well just play him, but a lot of people are also thinking of getting rid of Weghorst. I wouldn't expect too much from Burnley in general, to be fair. But if you wanted someone, here's the list. Up next, Southampton. Now, Shea Adams, 3.5 non-penalty XGI, posting really good numbers. Posting good numbers, that's all. Not finishing it. Southampton not doing too well. Ward-Prowse is also another good option for midfield if you wanted to. If you had Livramento. But again, fixtures for Southampton. Going back, Arsenal and Burnley. Burnley probably the more easier one, but Burnley might actually be quite a challenge for Southampton based on the current form of Southampton. Southampton's current form isn't the best. It's looking pretty bad. So, I mean, if you wanted a Southampton player, maybe Adams, maybe Ward-Prowse. Not really convinced by anyone else, to be fair. But yeah, this is what I'm saying, right? Don't focus too much on the double gaming players. The more we look into this, continue to look at the worst of worst teams in the doubles, you kind of realize that maybe there aren't the best options here. Maybe you should probably start focusing on some single gaming players as well. Especially if you're on a free hit, try and focus on a few single gaming players as well. Don't necessarily have to go full in on the doubles. Brighton, Trossard, Mope. That's basically it. I don't know what else to tell. But yeah, this is basically it for Brighton as well. Again, not very confident about their assets, especially given their fixtures are the worst out of all the teams playing in the doubles. Tottenham and Manchester City, not the best options. Now, finally, this is the best of the doubles. So you wanted to know, Ryan, too much. I can't be bothered looking at every single slide here. I just want the best 20 players who are playing in the double, who have double game weeks. If so, here is your list. Adams right on top. Again, like I told you, good numbers, but Southampton not posting good fixtures. Bruno Fernandes is next, which is why he's probably considered as one of the captaincy options for game week 33, followed by Saka, Fraser, injury issues, Harvey Barnes, Cornet, Elneny, Cristiano Ronaldo is like 3, 6, 7, 8th in this list. Not the best. Followed by Armstrong, Martinelli, and all the way up to Jacob Murphy. That's your top 20. If you wanted to pick double game week players in terms of midfield or attack, these are your options. Defense, obviously, like I said, Newcastle defensive players are pretty good. Also, the same could be said maybe for Schmeichel or Justin from Leicester. Even though their numbers are pretty bad, I think their fixtures aren't too bad. But yeah, this is your best of the doubles. Now, Like I said, I've been telling this quite a few times already. Don't ignore the single game week players. So let's look at the best single game week players. Harry Kane right on top, 6.05. If you look, let's go back again 1 second. Shea Adams is the best option right here in terms of non-penalty XGI, followed by Bruno Fernandes, 3.5 and 2.8, right? To get to 3.5, you have to go past 3, 6, 7, 8 players, of 8 single game week players to get to 3.5. And then to get to 2.8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, you have to, like, Bruno Fernandes is the 15th best option. If you add Shea Adams, that's 16th best option out of all the players in the game. There are 15 better single game week players than Bruno Fernandes who are posting in terms of numbers wise. Now, does that mean they have the better fixtures? Obviously not, because Watkins in this game is not playing. You've got Rafinha not playing, so you got a few players who aren't playing here. I probably should have removed that. I'll probably do that for the podcast. I'll remove them. But again, it's kind of showing you where even Tony plays. Tony, who is facing, by the way, a Watford team that aren't doing too well. Let me go back. Again, Brentford, top 6 for minutes per XG, facing a Watford team that are bottom 6 for both minutes per XG and minutes per XG conceded. Right? Tony, good numbers. People are looking for a striker. Could be an option. For Heung-min Son, Kane, I think you need one Spurs player. You probably can't go without one. Maybe even going with Kane and Son together is not a bad option as well. And then you got the likes of Havertz, Zaha, and Salah as well. De Bruyne posting really good numbers as well recently. So you've got some good options here that you could probably pick, wanted to. So that's basically it. The numbers are here. Let me know. I think from this list, I like Kane, Tony as well. To be fair, having looked at the numbers now, it's not too bad. Heung-min Son, I think, is a good option. Salah could be a good option if you can't afford Salah. Maybe De Bruyne. I think a lot of people on a free hit probably have to go without Salah. In that specific case, I think a De Bruyne is not a bad option. Or maybe we look at a Mane. Mane is also on this list. The next best option for Liverpool would be Mane, if you could afford a Mane, that is, if you can't get a Salah. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Hopefully, these list of players have kind of helped you. Hopefully, the initial sheet that I showed you guys in terms of this kind of helps you in terms of picking players and teams to target. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. This is basically my teams to target, place to target video, the Game Week 33 free hit and bench boost guide. Thank you all for watching. If you're new, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. And I'll see you guys all for the podcast on Wednesday. We'll be live streaming it. Lots of discussion with regards to bench boost and free hit. Make sure to stay tuned, and I'll see you guys later.